Normally in the rant network, we would probably start off with some sarcastic remark. We would probably be, foolish, joking. Stuart make some stupid comment about my shirt, or I would make some comment about, his lack of hair, something stupid. But on December the 6th, 1989, I was at the University of Western Ontario, and I get a phone call asking where I am from my family overseas, wondering if I'm okay. And I had no idea in the days where the internet was primitive and news was not available on the net, didn't have a cell phone to get a notification, that in my hometown of Montreal, one of the largest massacres in a school had occurred. 14 women, 14 women murdered by a maniacal, misogynistic hater named Marc Le Pen. Shot dead 14 women. 10 more women were injured and 4 men were injured as well. On this day, though, rather than the media focusing on what's important, it continues its pursuit of Donald Trump, not of what matters to you and me. Welcome back to the Rent Network. I'm David Solomon. He's Stuart Brisgell. This podcast is all about unedited, unfiltered, uncensored conversations on a wide variety of topics. This platform is about expressing your opinion, your thoughts, our thoughts. I sound like a Vulcan. Thought, experiences, and ideas, and hear from a variety of perspectives and honest opinions. We dive into the latest news, pop culture, politics, and so much more. The reality is we get into stuff that affects you, the modern life absurdities, and we do it all here at the Rent Network. Stuart, I don't know where you were on that day, but this day means a lot to me. It's very painful to know that someone could have walked in to any school with a gun. Back then, they changed the laws in Canada on gun control, unlike what you have south of the border. They changed the laws. But Marc Le Pen, jealous of the fact that this was his motive, that he didn't get into engineering school at Polytechnique at University of Montreal, and he thought women should not be allowed. This man, nobody wanted to say, came from Muslim descent. To this day, even on Wikipedia, they bury that fact. Stuart, I don't know about you, but the media seems to ignore this important story, let alone other things that are going on in the world.
Well, David, the whole woke, why he went after women allegedly was because they prioritized women into the program to introduce them as the entrance on not who's best, but who's more diverse, and tried to create the palette, which is now known as woke. And to be brutally honest with you, it is, the best of the best. Do you want the second best surgeon? Do you want the second best engineer? Do you want the second best anything? The answer is should be no. I mean, are you willing to settle for second best? Maybe. But do you want the second best? Probably not, especially if your life depends on it. And the world buries the facts. It avoids them in the press. It doesn't want you to think about this. The same way it doesn't want you to think about the crime that's occurring in all these woke cities, whether they're in United States, Canada, France, Germany, England. They don't want you to see the radical change. Cops getting shot in the street, women, 14 women. There have been massacres in schools throughout time, from the 18th, 19th century, 20th century. It is not uncommon. What was really unique about Polytechnique was 14 women, targeted women, not 15 people like in 1989, the Columbia Massacre. It was very different. But the total number of incidences listed between 17, 18, and 19th and 20th century is 360. It's not a modern occurrence, David. This has been going on for 300 years in the United States, documented. So I ask you, is it because of gun control? Chances are not. Is it probably because of some sort of mental health? Maybe. I think it's a strong possibility. And what just happened? United Healthcare CEO was gunned down by an assassin in the street. Maybe, just maybe. Well, people are dying in Canada, left, right, and center, not being able to get to certain health care. Certain doctors don't exist there. The wait list is years long. to slowly get through the program. At the end of the day, let's not focus. It's not about gun control because gun control has been proven not to work. It's like the war on drugs, proven not to work. The war on terrorism, proven not to work. The war on Donald Trump, well, we now know that didn't work either. Not that Donald Trump has anything to do with it, but in the United States, they're actually floating, and it may actually pass a federal weapons permit that will allow you to carry a weapon anywhere in the United States. In Texas, there are model cities where crime is zero because everyone has a gun that wants one. And the criminals aren't the only ones with guns. Go in the streets of Montreal, go in the streets of Toronto. Very rarely do you read the gun report and how many shootings there have been. Did you know guns are illegal for the most part in Canada in most parts, unless a hunting rifle? Yet there are millions of handguns running around and AK-47s. Is it because they came up from the U.S.? No. They're smuggled in from Asia, Russia, all over the world, through St. Lawrence Seaway, through British Columbia, Vancouver, and from the United States. Maybe it's because it's not a secured border. I don't know. David, I'm getting way off topic again.
Uh-huh.
But I'm tying this all in. These 14 women 35 years ago gave their life to a Muslim person who went ballistic because a woman was chosen before a man. I don't know. I think that's probably the first woke incident of the modern era.
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you that I don't necessarily agree with what you just said, that it was a woke decision. I don't know if I necessarily agree that it was a woke decision, and I think it's just a question of, and this is what he claimed. He claimed that he was picked before a woman, and even
women was picked before him.
Yeah, that's right. Even post Polytechnique, that question came up, and the answer was no. That's not it. He did not have the cred to get into the program. It was irrelevant. His cred was published back afterwards, and sure enough, he would have not made the program. So it's really, I don't believe it was woke, Stuart, and I don't think that the University of Montreal at the time was going down that road. But I'll tell you what I'm frustrated about, and that is the attention to what other violence happens to women, and it's ignored and tucked under the rug. Stuart, women are raped. I mean, we went through a Me Too movement, which decided to pick. Okay, he decided to pick. They just, what stories are worthwhile. And during the Me Too movement, many credible individuals went to jail, were canceled, and that movement was powerful. But it was to the point where where it tipped, okay, where it tipped and gave, it emboldened certain people to falsely accuse men, and so, like, there's this, no conversation was allowed to be had about what we do. You have the whole issue today of transgender sports, where a biological male comes to play sports with women, identifies as a woman. I mean, we've seen this story, Stuart, during our years of doing this. So guys who decide they're going to go into sorority and say, yeah, I'm a girl. I identify as a girl. I'm transitioning to a girl, and they're really, pleasuring themselves. Not saying all of them, but there are a lot of them, and we see it again and again and again. Sports. In sports, what we're seeing with the women here, but if you have that conversation, even Martina Navratilova, who was one of the first female athletes to come out and say, I'm gay, and got ripped for she was too masculine, she was too that. Like, we are such a hypocritical society, okay? And as you continue to pump into my feet here about Mark Lepin, and I'll let you go into that. The reality is, Stuart, that the media picks and chooses what is the story of the day when it comes up to this. And while the world, we talk, we have governments falling in Europe, we have problems in Africa, whatever. On this day, I'll give you another example. And it's, again, the women who were murdered, raped, and I talked about this on Wednesday, in Israel, do not get any mention when it comes up to this day. It's verboten. Now, here in Montreal, this is a very, very problematic day. because this is when we let women down. We let society down. Now, by the way, Stuart, this dude, I'm going to give you a crazy statistic. Montreal has more school shootings than any other city in North America. We've had three. Okay. And what do? Nothing. Can't have the conversation. The
You're
media
right.
won't have the conversation.
Right. So,
And hold on, let me wrap this up and I'll throw it back to you. The problem with this media today is that they think still, like arrogant politicians, this arrogant media still believes what you and I should be talking about.
yep.
They're not interested in the real stuff. They're not interested in what impacts women. They're interested in what impacts them with their woke agenda.
All right, David, guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And
Okay.
the
So,
left hates, by the way, the left hates when you say that. The left hates when you say that, by the way. Just so you know.
let me get to the facts here. This guy legally purchased a gun a month earlier on November 21st from a store legally. Okay. Now, where is this taught? Okay. The investigation learned that he had been around the school a week earlier, scouting the school, planning this thing.
Scouting, yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
he's born. His father is an Algerian. The family taught the children, the son, Mark Lepin, and the sister, that women are not equal to men. They're non-baptized Christians, right? So they, all intents and purposes, were being raised in a Muslim-leaning family because his sister Nadia, right, was given instructions that women aren't as good as men. So the anger against women and the vitriolness was taught at the home.
But why hasn't this story
David, but this is why I'm bringing up the facts. They want to write the narrative to sell airtime and get paid commercials. That's it. That's all. And that is frankly the disgusting part about modern news. In fact, news should be removed and stricken from every single broadcast that's out there. Fox News, take it down. CNN News, take it out. It's editorial. It's not news. And that's just the truth. The news is facts. John went into the school. John shot 16 people. John grew up in a house of a Muslim descent father with an ideology that was women are less equal than men and men deserve more than women. And he shot up a damn school because he was inadequate. I don't know. Mental health. I mean, why wasn't that in the news, David?
You know what? Because Stuart, at the time, and I remember when I was working at the newspaper, the editor I was with, he's the one who brought it to my attention. I said, I never heard, and this was like this is like 2009, right? So 2009, he says, hey, did you know about Mark Lepin's background? I'm like, no, the news buried it, and he said for years he fought the idea that the news buried an important part of the story, and this is exactly what we've seen time and time again. Distorted news, and by the way, it's not even news, like you said. It's opinion, and everything's an alert. News alert. Everything's breaking news. When in reality, nothing's breaking. Slow down. But the media has literally twisted the story.
Well, they frame the actions of this as society's changes led to the increased poverty and powerlessness of the individual, the isolation between man and oh my God.
No, but this is
such nonsense. It's disgusting.
You know what? If someone was today, and listen, this was 35 years ago. So kids in university don't even know about it, haven't heard about it, don't know. All of a sudden, they're waking up this morning going, what are you talking about? There was a mass shooting in a university? It must have been a hateful man. He was a hateful man.
Yep.
But he was Muslim. He was from Muslim descent. Oh, you can't say that. That's Islamophobia.
Well, they say the father was Muslim. The kids were raised.
You know what? You know what? Listen, if you want to go down that road, fine. So I'll tell you what. You still have values. You're still being taught something at home. And if you're going to bury that.
Exactly. You were taught at home, women are not equal to men.
You know what? If burying that story, and on this day, when these 14 women should be 35 years into their career or thereabouts, they're dead. And the survivors have survivor guilt. And It's unbelievable to what extent, it's horrifying. But let me tell you something, Stuart. Watch the news cycle. You tell me how many broadcasters in the United States are going to identify today as International Women's Day of Violence to Women. You'll see virtually nothing. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Stuart wants me to wrap up another week of the Rant Network. We'll be back here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week. We broadcast at noon Eastern. We hope you really not enjoyed, but you got shooken up a little bit and gained something valuable from this conversation. In the meantime, please use social media channels at your disposal and share this with others. This is an important story. So we hope that you've shared this with others, and we hope for comments from you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, we wish you a